on the Harbor One hotline. Hey, Mike, good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great. We're talking about Tom Brady and whether or not he got his head coach fired. And I was going to ask you about that. Wiggy was talking earlier about divas in sports and LeBron James and Tom Brady. And I mean, did that scenario ever happen to you, where you have a player powerful enough to do that? And does it maybe not happen in the NHL? Are there not divas in the NHL?
Well, there are definitely power players in every sport, and I can remember when Don Cherry left and Fred Creighton took over. There were a number of players that got involved in getting Fred Creighton fired, but it wasn't just one person. But if there's going to be one person in any sport, it would be Brady. I mean, he probably deserves to have his own coach, his own offensive coordinator, and listen, 7 Super Bowls. He's 44. Give the guy whatever he wants. Give it one more go round. Let's see if he can do it. He's that good, and here we are talking about him again, even though his coach just stepped away, and now we're ascribing certain powers that he must have utilized in order to get a new coach. And Todd Bowles, his last tenure as a head coach, didn't it suck?
Yeah, with the Jets. Oh, very good.
I mean, he looked like a mannequin. He stood there. He had no emotion. There was nothing going on in his head. And the team was a flop. So it's going to be interesting. And sooner or later, Brady's going to hit a wall, isn't he? I mean, he can't keep going. As great as he's been and fun to watch, sooner or later, time takes over, doesn't it?
Well, I think that's a great question to transition into this Bruins team with Patrice Bergeron, right? What's the slippage of a player? Like, so even if Brady does hit a wall a little bit, he's still one of the best players out there. And if you're the Bruins and you're obviously making this playoff run, what's the conversations with Patrice Bergeron, because he's going to be a free agent after the end of this year? And what are you doing in bringing him back more than 1 year, or just 1 year, or seeing where his head's at?
It's a conversation, but I don't think you have to have it now. I think he's good enough, mature enough, that he can just concentrate on being healthy, getting ready to make a playoff run. Listen, there are plenty of teams at Patrice Bergeron's beck and call that would want him to come back, even at his age, to play for him. But certainly the Bruins would want to do it. But, at this point, don't you just take it a year at a time to see how it goes? He just came off a bit of an injury. He's been plagued by some of those over the last couple of years, and, his stamina isn't what it used to be. But he's still a terrific player, and I think you just get him through the postseason, and then, make sure before he takes off for the summer, you sit him down and find out what his plans are and what you think your plans are for him. But right now, it should be focusing on getting the best possible playoff spot and trying to keep him rested.
Do you think his decision is based on how far they get this year?
I think that, no, I don't. I think it's based on how he feels, how his health is. I mean, and what his wife's thinking and his kids. I mean, it's just, there are those, it's the personal factors now. I mean, he's got no thing to prove, but I think if he's still having fun and he's still healthy enough and he's not worried about his noggin, he'll probably want to come back. But it would be certainly enticing if the team went deep into the playoffs and, he had the conversation with the general manager who promised him to find a second-line center that they really still desperately need.
Mike, do you think he's a year-to-year guy, though? Do you think he'd be willing to do that, contract-wise?
Yeah, I think he would. I don't know why he wouldn't. I mean, year-to-year is not all that bad when you're making $5 or $6 million, and I think he's at the point in his career where he doesn't know whether he really wants to come back for 1 more year or 2 more years or 3 more years. And again, there are teams out there that would pay him money to come back and play if the Bruins were ready to say, hey, just 1 year and we're done. But I think he's got a reputation. His stack of trophies as a defensive forward make him a very valuable asset to a team, even at his age, even if he's not scoring 25 goals.
Mike, when you look at the last game against Toronto, a lot of heat whether it was Brad Marchand or Taylor Hall. After the game, Cassidy said he didn't understand Brad, but he understood Taylor Hall and why he was frustrated. He's been fined $5,000 now for that punch. Where do you fall on that? Do you think it was deserved? Is that ever deserved?
It was sort of a reality check game, wasn't it? I mean, they were riding so high, they were so hot, and they had been for so long. Then all of a sudden they come into face a team like Toronto, who's tremendously talented, not as disciplined as they should be, and don't have the kind of approach that the Bruins have, but have the talent to make you sort of like sit up straight and say, wow, we got to just, dot our I's and cross the T's every game if we're going to beat a team like this. It was a good wake-up call for them. I think they'll be better for it. And as far as Taylor Hall and the punch to the head is concerned, just got frustrated. And Marchand gets frustrated all the time. And those two guys have to look at that game and say, that's not the way we got to play when we're trying to win a championship. And it's pretty simple. I think it was a great time to get a wake-up call for them.
Mike, when you look at potential matchups for the Bruins heading into the playoffs, is there a team that, you look at and you go, okay, this last stretch of the season is critical to get wins because you don't want to have to face Team X?
I certainly don't think they want to place themselves in a position to play Florida or Carolina for that matter.
I think it would be Carolina right now, right?
Right.
I think right now it would be Carolina.
Yeah, now it would be Florida. But I don't know current playoff matchup. It says, but who the hell knows?
They have games in hand though. They have some games to play with here, and I don't think they're going to be frightened of playing Toronto or Pittsburgh. Although Pittsburgh got some great stars, obviously, or the Rangers. But the teams at the very top, Carolina and Florida, pose some significant issues for the Bruins. And I think they'd like to avoid them in the first round. And I see their schedule. We talked about this before. It's just so jam-packed. I mean, how do you balance where you want, trying to place yourself in the right spot in the playoff standings and making sure that everybody's ready once they actually get there? It's a tough balance to check.
We talked a couple weeks ago with you about Bruins fighters, about goons. Right now, today, in a fight, Jay Miller versus Will Smith. Who would you take?
The open face, the open-handed slap doesn't really impress me. Especially against the guy. What's Chris Rock, about 5'3"? He's tiny. I mean, Big Will comes in swinging the big hammer. I mean, shame on him.
I know. You're supposed to square off, at least give the other guy a fair advantage, right?
And you know what? He was really cagey about the whole thing. I mean, he came up, he walked up, and I thought Chris Rock thought it was going to be something funny, and then he just all of a sudden turned into, Mike Tyson. But you know what? It was weird when I watched that thing. I mean, he was laughing, and then all of a sudden his wife was turned into a frown, and I guess that pissed him off. But
Curtis thinks the whole thing was staged.
Oh, totally.
No, I'm not buying that.
No.
Wiggy, you buying that?
No,
Courtney,
I don't buy.
You buying that? I
No,
don't think so.
no.
I think he just looked at his wife. If you go back and look at the tape, you can see her start to smile, and then she turns into a real sourpuss. And then he just gets up and says, "I got to stand up for my wife."
I thought when
even though we've been playing the field on each other for the last 25 years.
Well, Mike, I always thought that it was staged when you went up into the crowd with your shoe.
Yeah, trust me, that one wasn't staged.
Oh, okay.
Also, Chris Rock listed as 5'10", and it is officially Short King Spring. So, I mean, short guys have the advantage right now.
Yeah, but he's like 40 pounds. That's the difference.
It doesn't matter. Tall guys are out in most girls' minds.
All right. By the way, Mike, June 7th, we are doing the affiliate road show at the Beachcomber in Wellfleet. We're going to every market. So we're going to Providence, the Cape, Springfield, New Hampshire, Maine, etc. Would you perhaps join us there in person that morning if we get you a car or something, whatever you need?
Can't you change the show to like 4 o'clock in the cocktail hour?
Well, we could stay there until then.
Right.
I think the listeners would like to hang with you for breakfast.
All right, we'll give it oysters for breakfast. That's my idea of a good time.
And a Goombay smash. Maybe the Goombay smash. All right, so that's a maybe. We'll work on it.
A definite maybe.
Solid
right.
maybe.
Well, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you, Mike Milbury.
All right, take care, guys.